Jimin is out of control. Bang Si Hyuk reportedly rejected Dior deal, an explosive internal clash and a revelation that could reshape how fans understand the internal workings of hybe. Sources now allege that Jimin's groundbreaking partnership with Dior did not unfold as seamlessly as it appeared on the surface. In fact, it may have erupted from a storm of internal opposition, whispered discontent, and one man's decision to defy the very system that made him. What really happened when Park Jimin, one of the most beloved figures in global pop culture, stood up against the will of hybe's founder, Bang Si Hyuk, and chose to become the face of one of the most powerful fashion houses in the world. The statement, "I told him not to take Dior," has echoed with chilling weight behind closed doors in hybe headquarters, words reportedly spoken by Bang Si Hyuk himself. But why would the architect of BTS's global success, a man known for empowering his artists, allegedly oppose what would become one of the most celebrated fashion collaborations in K-pop history? Was it about strategy, control, or something far more personal? In early 2023, the world was caught off guard. Dior released a campaign starring Jimin, his eyes piercing through the frame, his silhouette clad in sharp, futuristic tailoring. The impact was immediate. Social media platforms ignited. Dior's stock briefly surged. Fashion insiders and industry analysts alike declared Jimin the new face of luxury. But as fans celebrated, insiders say the mood within hybe was anything but joyful. Behind the curtain, tension was reportedly building. According to individuals familiar with internal discussions, Bang Si Hyuk opposed the timing and perhaps even the nature of Jimin's Dior deal. Multiple sources claim there were attempts to delay or reframe the partnership. These weren't trivial conversations. They were reportedly serious enough that Bang Si Hyuk himself intervened, voicing direct resistance to Jimin's plans. What prompted this internal friction? It wasn't about Dior per se. It was about everything Dior represented. The power, the visibility, the independence. When BTS announced their temporary hiatus to fulfill mandatory military service, global luxury brands scrambled to sign the members as solo ambassadors. Jimin, with his delicate features, enigmatic presence, and quietly potent charisma, was seen as a goldmine for fashion labels eager to tap into the post-BTS market. Sources in the European fashion industry say at least 3 major French brands approached Jimin, but Dior wanted exclusivity. They didn't just want a global ambassador. They wanted Jimin to define the new aesthetic era of their brand. That vision didn't align with hybe's, insiders suggest. Bang Si Hyuk reportedly feared the implications of such a high-profile solo alignment. A senior staff member at hybe, speaking anonymously, described a deep concern that Jimin's image would drift too far from the collective identity of BTS. There was fear, the source said, that if Jimin became too closely identified with a luxury brand, he would become inaccessible to fans. BTS's strength has always been relatability. But perhaps Jimin had already moved beyond that framework. Throughout 2022, subtle signs emerged that Jimin was taking a new direction. His styling choices grew increasingly bold. His airport fashion morphed into curated statements. He began working with collaborators outside the typical hybe ecosystem. Some described it as evolution. Others saw it as quiet rebellion. Either way, Jimin was crafting his identity, and he no longer waited for permission. Then came the Dior announcement in January 2023. It was not a coordinated campaign with hybe. The fashion house posted first. hybe's social media only followed hours later. Fans noticed the lag immediately. It didn't feel synchronized, one user wrote. It felt like Jimin made the announcement himself, and hybe had no choice but to follow. Did he go rogue? Reports suggest that Bang Si Hyuk had requested Jimin to delay the announcement by months. He wanted solo brand partnerships to be staggered, strategically released to avoid the impression that BTS was fragmenting. But Jimin had made up his mind. He believed the timing was perfect, especially with his solo album on the horizon. More shockingly, Sources allege that Bang Si Hyuk made efforts to renegotiate Dior's promotional materials. He reportedly requested that Jimin appear in all branding as a member of BTS, not as a solo entity. Dior allegedly declined. They wanted Jimin alone, not as part of a group, not as a placeholder for Seven. Just him, and that, insiders say, was the breaking point. The silence from HYB following the campaign's viral success was deafening. There were no public statements of congratulations, no mentions during investor briefings. While other members' partnerships, Jungkook with Calvin Klein, Suga with Valentino, RM with Bottega Veneta, were publicly celebrated, Jimin's journey was met with an unnerving quiet from the very company that built him. The symbolism became even more pronounced with the release of Set Me Free PT2, Jimin's solo music video. In it, he appeared shirtless, encircled by robotic dancers, pushing them away in a moment of raw power. "I never stop. Finally free," he sang. The choreography, the framing, the lyrical content, everything screamed defiance. A Korean music critic commented, "It felt like he was singing directly to Bang Si Hyuk. It was a declaration of independence." In the months that followed, Dior doubled down on Jimin. He wasn't just a spokesperson. He was elevated to front-row status at Paris Fashion Week, seated beside Dior's CEO. His image began to eclipse traditional K-pop stardom. He became a fashion icon, untethered, autonomous, and global. And all of it happened without Bang Si Hyuk's open endorsement. What went wrong? Why would the man who created BTS appear so resistant to one of his own achieving unprecedented success? One explanation floated by industry insiders is strategic misalignment. Bang Si Hyuk allegedly envisioned the BTS solo era being led by RM and Suga, intellectual, grounded, musically mature. Jimin, they claim, was viewed as the emotional core but not the face of the brand's next chapter. Dior shattered that narrative. It put Jimin on a pedestal where HYB hadn't planned for him to be. Other insiders speak more candidly. Jimin took control. "He did what no one else dared," said one former stylist. He redefined what solo meant for a BTS member, not just a side project, but a complete brand transformation. And what of Bang Si Hyuk? His public interactions with Jimin have since remained minimal. In group settings, they're seen together, but the absence of one-on-one visibility is striking. Whether due to personal rift or strategic divergence, the tension lingers. There's no official explanation. No interviews. No press briefings. Only whispers and observations. And the enduring question, why did Bang Si Hyuk try to stop Jimin from becoming Dior's global ambassador? Perhaps it was fear of losing control. Perhaps it was about narrative, branding, or pace. Or perhaps it was something more human. The realization that a young man you mentored had outgrown your shadow. Regardless, the outcome is irreversible. Jimin didn't just accept Dior. He became Dior. In doing so, he sent a message, not just to the fashion world, but to the music industry, to HYB, and to Bang Si Hyuk himself. A message that said, "I am no longer waiting. I am no longer confined. I am finally free. And now, the world is watching." In the aftermath of the explosive claims surrounding Jimin's controversial appointment as Dior's global ambassador, the lingering silence from official channels and the contradictory narratives spreading across digital platforms have led to one unavoidable question. Can any of this truly be taken as fact? Or are we witnessing the emergence of a carefully orchestrated media fabrication designed to provoke, distract, and divide as the public attempts to interpret what occurred behind HYB's heavily guarded doors? It is essential to pause, not to react, but to reflect. Could the tension between Jimin and Bang Si Hyuk be as real and volatile as reported? Or has the story been inflated through digital hearsay, unverified insider tips, and algorithm-driven speculation? Has this incident, allegedly rooted in internal power struggles, grown into a symbolic battlefield for fan theories, parasocial narratives, and corporate myth-making? we must interrogate the nature of our belief. When sources originate from platforms such as TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, where information is often disseminated with speed rather than accuracy, how do we determine what is legitimate and what is manufactured? Can we confidently state that Jimin defied the most powerful executive in K-pop to claim his independence? Or is this storyline the product of public imagination, fueled by a few cryptic posts, strategic silences, and interpretive performances? What if this entire narrative has been amplified by the very tools meant to connect us? Social media algorithms that reward controversy, incentivize outrage, and punish nuance? In an age where virality trumps verification, how can we distinguish between authentic tension and performative drama? There is no denying that Jimin's rise in the global fashion sphere was meteoric. But the crucial issue is not whether he deserved the spotlight. Clearly, his artistry and charisma are beyond dispute. The issue is whether the friction alleged between him and Bang Si Hyuk ever truly reached the level of internal sabotage, or whether this is yet another example of fan-fueled dramatization, shaped by digital breadcrumbs and speculative analysis. Was there ever a private confrontation in which Bang Si Hyuk explicitly rejected the Dior deal? Or are we retroactively constructing a narrative based on the absence of public celebration, the timing of social media posts, and the emotional undercurrents of a music video? We must ask, is silence always evidence of conflict? In the digital age, perception often becomes truth. The suggestion that Bang Si Hyuk attempted to renegotiate Dior's campaign details has not been verified by any official documentation. Instead, we are presented with interpretations and anonymous testimonies, pieces of a puzzle that may never fully align. Are we being shown the complete picture, or merely the parts that incite emotional investment? Moreover, is it possible that the supposed opposition from HYB was a calculated delay strategy, misinterpreted as outright resistance? If HYB's silence was indeed strategic, could it have been aimed at preserving group cohesion, avoiding premature fragmentation of BTS's identity, rather than a personal attempt to stifle Jimin's growth? Every paragraph of this unfolding narrative demands interrogation. What if the entire concept of Jimin going rogue is a false binary, designed to pit individual ambition against collective loyalty? Could such a dichotomy be not only misleading but harmful, reducing complex negotiations into simplified antagonisms? The implications extend beyond celebrity drama. We are being asked to examine the structures of power, loyalty, and autonomy within the entertainment industry, but through a lens blurred by speculation. What does it mean when a pop icon is reimagined as a symbol of rebellion, even when no official opposition is confirmed? Does that narrative serve the truth, or simply our desire to see heroes and villains where there may only be professionals making difficult decisions under extraordinary pressure? Let us be clear. This is not an attack on Jimin, nor an indictment of Bang Si Hyuk. It is a call to every reader, every fan, every consumer of media, to question the narrative, to recognize the line between insight and illusion, and to resist the temptation to accept every dramatic arc as unfiltered reality. The content we have discussed is drawn from a wide range of digital sources, many of which are inherently unverifiable. The platforms that host these narratives are not designed for journalistic accuracy. They are designed for engagement. They reward virality, emotional responses, and the illusion of insider access. In this context, what responsibility do we, as readers and viewers, have in filtering what we absorb? Consider the emotional weight behind the statement, "I told him not to take Dior." Is that an actual quote, a paraphrased retelling, or an invention? Is it evidence of paternalistic control, a sign of strategic disagreement, or a phrase taken out of context to serve a more dramatic thesis? What if it was never spoken at all? These are not trivial questions. They strike at the core of how media shapes our understanding of fame, artistry, and autonomy. They force us to confront how quickly rumors become canon when amplified by repetition. More importantly, they challenge us to examine our own role in this ecosystem. Are we passive recipients of information, Or are we responsible for the way we engage, amplify, and interpret it? We urge our readers not to succumb to confirmation bias. If you are a fan of Jimin, it is tempting to see this as a story of triumph over suppression. If you are skeptical of corporate control in K-pop, you may be inclined to view Bang Si Hyuk as a gatekeeper of outdated paradigms. But such binary thinking only reinforces the narrative extremes we must avoid. The truth, if it exists in whole, likely rests somewhere in the middle, between ambition and oversight, between artistry and commerce, between perception and fact. Before we assign blame or elevate heroes, we must pause and ask, are we seeing reality, or only what we want to believe is real? The story of Jimin and Dior may indeed be a pivotal moment in the evolution of solo artistry in K-pop. Or it may be a digital myth, shaped by implication and reinforced by repetition. In either case, it demands our attention, not as passive consumers, but as critical thinkers willing to interrogate every layer, every motive, and every consequence. The final question remains, are we witnessing the truth, or merely the most compelling version of it? Let this not be the end of the discussion, but the beginning of a deeper reflection.